Hi guys, welcome to another tutorial of HTML, CSS and JavaScript elements. Today we are going to make this section of website in which this is our simple input. We have styled it using CSS. When we click on it, the placeholder just shifts upward to the upper border of this input, and when we write anything in it, anything or any word, and when we just print enter, it becomes a tag right here. And this input does not allow us to enter any special characters, or if we will put any spaces in it, it will automatically remove it. Now, as I have written some words with space between them and a special character right here. Now, if I will press enter, it will just remove the special character from here and the spaces and put this without those special characters and spaces. If I want to remove any of these tags, I have put close button right here. If I will click on it, it will just remove it and bring the placeholder right back on its place. If I will try to put more than 5 tags right here, it will just tell us tags limit reach. And if I will remove any of the tag from here, it will again start asking us to write any tag if we want to. This is what we are going to make. For this project, I am using Atom IDE. Right here, I have created a folder which we will use as our project folder. I have named it tags input. Now to start coding, I will first of all create a new file and name it as index.html, and we will need another file, and I will create a new file for it and name is style.css. First of all, for HTML side, I will create boilerplate, a simple boilerplate, and for it the title tags input. After that, in the body section, first of all I will create a div and give it a class of input box. So input box, inside this input box we will have an input. We just need a simple input and a span. I will give this span a class of input name. For now, we will just write here enter tag. After this, first of all, let's style this one. For this, I will link our style sheet style.css. I will save this file, and in style.css, let me close this sidebar and I will open preview of this HTML file by pressing Ctrl Shift H. This is the shortcut for it in Atom IDE. Now in style, for a universal selector, I will write padding 0, margin 0, box sizing, border box, and inside body I will give it a display of flex and justify content center and align items center, so that every content inside this body tag may remain in its center. Now I will give it a height of 100 view height, so that it may bring all of the content inside middle of its height and width. Now inside body right here we have an input box. For this input box I will give it the width of 340 pixels. In order to show you its width, I will give it some background color. So as you can see, this is the complete width of this div. Inside this input box, we have an input in it. We will give it the width of 100% so that it may take all of the space and its width may become equal to its parent child, which is input box. And for this input, I will give it padding of 10 pixel from each side, up, down, left and right. Now for this input field, I will give it a border 1 pixel solid and a color of 695C and FE. This will be the color. And for body, let's give it a background color of hash 242526. Yeah, right here it is. And to input, we will give the same background color that we gave to our body. This input field will have a border radius 10 pixels so that its corners are rounded away. I will remove this background color because I put it right here just in order to show how does it look. Now if I will save it, now you can see this tag. We want to style this one right now. First of all, let's input the font size of 1.5 pixels. Oh, sorry, 1.5 rem. Now you can see the yellow lines. This is called outline. We don't want this outline to be here, so for that I'll write outline none. Now there is no outline right here. For the color, I will give it the color of white right here. Now we are seeing that the font family right here in this input, they aren't looking good. In order to make its font better, I will use a font family of CJOY UI. Now to style this span, I will write input box. Oh, sorry, this is a class. So input box and the span in it. I will give it a position absolute and give it a top of 0. Now it has just jumped right here. In order to make it relative to the box right here in the div input box, I will give it the position relative. Now this tag is right here. Now its top is set to 0. We want it in start from left as well, so I will give it left 0. In order to make it look good, I will give some more styling to it. For example, I would give it the color of white, the font size of 1.2 rem, and the padding of 10 pixel, the same as I gave to our input. Now it looks much better than before. And I will, whenever I will click right here on it, it won't allow us to click on this input field. So I will set its pointer event. Now right here you can see if I click on it, the input field doesn't give any response. So in order to tackle this situation, I will give this span the pointer event of none so that it may not respond to any of our clicks. Now we can click into this input field by clicking on this tag as well. Now in order to change it, when we click, we want to style the state of this input field when it is focused. Now in order to make style that, I will write dot input box dot input when it's in focus position. Then we want this style to be applied on the span tag, which is its sibling. Now this symbol right here shows that it's this element is sibling of this element, which is in focus state right now. This is not a class, this is an element, so we'll remove this dot from here. Now in order to style it, I will move this span a bit upward. So to do so, I will remove its padding from up and down. So I will write its padding from up and down to 0, and I will leave the padding from left and right side the same, which is 10 pixels. Now right here you can see when I click on it, it moves a bit above. Now in order to make it move to the upper border, we need to apply a property which is transform. Now I want to translate it along negative y-axis. It means that I want to move it upward by 50% of its width. Now if I will save this file and I will click on it, now you can see it has moved to the upper border. Right now we want it to move there like an animation. So in order to do so, we will put a transition of 0.4 seconds all in ease form. Now it will go slightly like an animation right here. Now we want to style background as well and change it some font size as well in order to make it look better. So for it, we will give it background color the same as we gave to the background of our body, 242526. Right now when we click on it, the background looks really good. Now you can see it is overlapping. So I will give it the margin of 10 pixels from left side. We want this margin from left side, so I will write left here. Now you can see It looks really better. Now in order to make it a bit smaller, I will go for its font size. Right now its font size is 1.5. I will convert it 1.2 rem. So when I will click, now you can see its font is still too big. So I will convert it to 1 now. Now it looks really better than before. Now when we write the text in it, it looks fine. And when we click somewhere else other than this input, then this tag just shifts back above on our input text which we have just already written in it. So we need to give this input field an attribute of required is equal to true. It means that it must have some text inside. So in order to not make it come right here, we need to copy this property, Control C, and add all of these styles when this tag is valid as well. Valid means we have given it an attribute of required, which means it must have some text or value inside it. And when it will have some sort of value inside it, it means this input is valid right now to be submitted as a form element. In that case, we will style it as well. We will transform this span and give this these styling at that time as well. So if I click and add something and click somewhere else, it won't come back to that earlier position. We are really good till now. We are going to add another div right here and give this div a class of tags. This div will contain all of our tags, as you can predict from its name as well. Each tag inside this tags div will be a div having a class of tag, and this tag will contain some text inside it. For now we will give it the text of tag 1 and an icon which will be which again will be a div. Close will be its class name. Inside it we will be having an icon. So for icons in Google, I will search for an icon. We will be using this website in order to use the icons. For first of all, I will go to usage and copy its usage tags, its script tags, which we will just copy from right here and paste it just above the closing tag of our body. Let me give it some indentation. After that, I will switch to the icons tab and search for an icon. We need an icon for close. Right here we are going to use this icon. I'll click on it, and when I will left click on this line, it will just get copied into my clipboard automatically. Right now in this close div having this class of close, I can paste this icon right here. This is it for this tag. This tag will contain just these items. Now I will go to style each of this tag. For the tags class, I'll give it the width of 100%. Its width will become equal to this input. After this, let us give it a background color of white in order to just in order to see what it looks right now. Now it is just connected directly to this the lower border of our input. We want some space between it, so I will give it a margin top of 20 pixel. I think it would look, yeah, it looks better right this way. Now I'll just remove this background from here. We just put it right there to see what styling does it need. So right now for tags we are good right here. Now for tag div will contain a background color of the same background color that we gave to the border of our input. No, this right here, this one, we'll copy it and give the same background color to this tag. Now for now you can see it has its width totally equal to its parent child, so we want it to change. In order to do so, we will give it the width of fit content, yeah, right here. Now you can see the close button is just below the text. We want to style this button, so we'll go into class tag. In this we have a class of close. Right now this div has a display of block. We want to convert it to inline block. Now you can see it has become inline block and it's just behaving like a simple text. Now this tag will contain the color inside this tag will just remain the same. The font size will be same as our inputs size, font size. Let us make it a bit smaller by 1.2 rem. Now it looks good. Now we want to capitalize its first letter, so we will write text transform capitalize. It will capitalize its first letter. We will give it some padding. Each tag will have the padding of 10 pixels from each side. I will give it the line height of 1 rem. After this, when we have provided it the line height, I will provide, right here we have to set its spelling. It's HEIGHT height. Now it will work. We will style this close button a bit. In order to style it, I will give it background color. I will give it in RGBA form. It will be white, which is 255 for RGB and A. And for A, I will give it 0.4 with a bit transparency. So right here we have this box with a bit transparency. In order to give it border radius, I will give it border radius of 5 pixels. Now it looks a bit better. Now when we hover over it, our cursor doesn't change. So in order to hover it, we will give it hover effect by affecting the hover state. In hover state, the cursor will be cursor pointer. Now when we will hover over it, the cursor will change to pointer. Now we are good with the styling of this tag. Now let's move towards JavaScript to add some event listeners in it to make us able to add tags when we press enter inside this input field. Now we will move towards our HTML file and add a script in which we will first of all take elements which we will be using from HTML. First of all, I will add this input field. So for this I will give it the name of input. Input is equal to document from our HTML document dot query selector. We want an element and write input. It's an input element. So we have our input element. We want to add tags inside this tags div. So I will copy this class and make another variable in which we will contain tags div. Similarly, as I did above, I will select this element from our HTML document and with an element which is having a class of tags. Now in order to add tag, when we press enter inside this input field, add an event listener in this field. So in order to do so, I will write input dot add event listener, and this event listener will be key up, which means that whenever the user will press the key, it won't trigger as soon as the user will leave the key, and at that time the key up event will be launched. And when this trigger is launched, we want to trigger this function, which is an arrow function. In this arrow function, first of all I will check the key which the user pressed. So for this I will use an if statement. So in order to use this if statement with this target key, I will need to get the right E here so that we may get the event element inside this E variable. So with this E variable we can access the key code, which is the distinct code for each key, whereas for enter key it is 13. So when the key which the user just pressed, if its value is 13, that it means the user pressed enter key. So when the enter key is pressed, what do we want to do? So in that case, I will trigger another function which will be having name as add tag. So function, we will just create the tag that we just call there. In this add tag function, first of all we will take the value of input inside a variable input dot value. This input dot value will give us the value of this input. Right here, if I am having my name written in it, so it will just give us this value inside this variable. So we will check whether this input is empty or not. If value dot trim, so we want to remove the useless spaces out of it. So after trimming it, we will check if the value dot trim is not equal to empty. If it is not empty, then proceed to the instructions inside this if statement. So after this, we want to add the value which is inside this variable as a tag inside this tags div which we just got inside this tags variable. So for that, I will create a markup. So I will create this markup right above here. For this value, I will give it type of var. So for this markup, I will give it the name of tag markup, and this tag markup inside if statement. Let's paste it right here, give it some indentation, and in this tag markup, we will be having the same markup we just styled right here. We will copy this div. It starts from here. So I will copy this and just paste it inside this quotation. And inside here, I will be using string literal. Inside this string literal, we will add the value our input field is having right now. So this is the tag markup, and after this markup is ready, which means when the value is inside this markup right here, after that we want to add this into our tags div. Tags div dot inner html is equal to, this html should be capital. So inner html is equal to tag, not equal to. If we will put just in equal to, then it will override the earlier HTML inside this tag. So as we want the earlier tags inside it as well, so we will put plus equal to, which means earlier HTML inside this tag and the tag markup. Now let's test it. Write something and press enter. It is not working. So let's see what is wrong here. In order to troubleshoot this, I will right click and I will reveal it in Explorer. Let's move to our Explorer, and this is the file. I will bring it to the browser. Right here, let's open our developer tools, and when I write something in it and press enter, there is an error. Let's see console. Value.trim. We have a typo right here. We need to erase this and let's test it again. Yeah, here we go. Now you can see it isn't actually positioning our tags. So this is the game of the CSS. Now in tag, each tag will be having a display of inline block. Now when we will write anything, it will be in front of it. Right now, if we will keep on adding, now you can see it doesn't have proper margin in it. So I will give it the margin from each side of 10 pixels. Now it will just go properly. Now the margin is too much, so give it just 4-5 pixels. Now let's test it. Yeah, it's looking good right now. But see, now when we add tag and press enter, it doesn't shift our input to empty. So right here, we just need to add one more line, which will be input.value is equal to empty. So right now it will work better than before. Now you can see when we press enter, the input is shifted back to empty, and right here you can see it is working as we suppose it to be working. Now, what do we want to do? We want to allow it just to add 5 elements. So in order to do so, we will need to add an if statement right here. If statement, where do we want to add this if statement? We want to add it right here. If the tags.children is smaller than or equal to 4, which means if it has 4 or less than 4 tags in it, then execute this statement. Otherwise, if it does not have 4 or less than 4 elements, then we want it to disable the input. So input.disabled is equal to true, and we also need to style this placeholder. So this placeholder has a class of input name inside the input box. So we will get this in our HTML as well. Let input name. So you can name it whatever, A, B, C, whatever you want. But inside this document.query selector, the tag, the class that you put here should resemble this one, the element that we need. So right here, I will paste it. Element is inside this input name. We can access it from here. Now input name, inside input name, we want its inner HTML to change to tags limit reached, so that it may give us idea that why we are not able to inside the input anymore. So there is a problem right here. If tags.children.length is smaller than length, today I am doing too many typos. So when we press enter, now it changes it, but it doesn't disable it. Dot disabled typo, disabled, enter, and right here. Now you can see we are having another problem. It doesn't do the same thing for the last element. In the last element we write in a press enter, it doesn't shift it inside the tags element, inside the tags. So we want to move it a bit to 3 from 4 in fourth element, else if the tags dot children dot length is equal to 4. If it's 4, which means already there is 4 elements inside it and we want to add fifth element. So now this tags dot children dot length gives us the number of elements inside the tags div. You must have got it till now. So we are going to add fifth element inside this div. So when it is the last element, we want to do both of these things: add the tag and disable it. Enter, Control B. Let us see what does it do. We have it isn't working, so we are having some other sort of error maybe. Yeah, right here. We want to put a bracket right here because these lines are more than one, so we would need obviously to put a curly bracket in order to close it right here. Now it will work. Yeah, 3, 4, and as soon as we put the fifth element, it becomes tags limit reached. Now this last part right here, this else one, is not needed. So if we do it right now, it does the same thing. We are now able to add the tags inside it, and when the limit reaches, it becomes this way. Now what do we want? We want to move these elements, these tags, from the tags div when we click this button. So now obviously you would have guessed it, we need to take this element right here, this div right here. So in order to do so, I will create another variable which will be named as close is equal to document dot query selector, and give it an element which is having a class of close. Now whenever I click it, so I want to run a function. So in order to do so, I will need to make another event listener for this. So I will add an event listener, event event listener, which is click whenever sorry, we won't add this event listener to this close button. We will add event listener to document because we don't have proper reference for it in the beginning. When the document is loaded right now, at that time there won't be any of the close div right inside this element, inside this document, as we won't be having this div here as well. So it will be empty this way. We don't have any closed div inside this tags div. So at that time, when the JavaScript will be run first time, this script will load nothing inside it because there is no element with the class of close. Every time we would need to track the event listener inside our HTML document. Whenever a person clicks inside our HTML document, what do we want to do? Whenever the user clicks, we want to run this arrow function right here. In this arrow function, I will put this. In this arrow function, I want to take the event inside e variable. Now, when click event is targeted inside our HTML document, we want to check if e.target, which means the element which is clicked, if e.target dot class list, if its class list, which means all of its classes, dot contains, if contains the class of close, if it has the class of close. So right here, this icon right here in this markup is this iron icon, which is this one, this icon. This is the icon which we are going to click. So it is not having any class which is named as close. So we want to close it if it has the class of close, but it doesn't has any class of close. This statement right here will execute this statement inside this if statement if it has the element we clicked e.target.classes.contains, if it contains the class of close. But in our case, the parent class of the element which we want to approve action on is having the class of close. So for this, e.target.parent element .classlist.contain, which means if this close button's parent element is having if this close button's parent element is having close, then we want to execute these statements. And what will be these statements? We want e.target don't parent element, we want to remove this e.target's parent element from its parent element, which means this clause inside this markup, this is the icon that we just clicked, and its parent is the div having the class of clause, and we want to remove the parent of this element, which is the div having the tag class. So we will write another parent element, dot parent element, which means the we clicked its parent element is the div having the class and its parent element which having the class tag right here. We want to remove this element from the document, so e.target.remove, when we will click it will just remove it from here, and as soon as we click and remove it from here, I'll need to write here when we are having it completely filled, tags limit reached, but when we click on it the elements are 4 but still it says tag limit reached. So I will change this input dot disabled is equal to false. I will activate the input, and for the input name I will set again to enter tags, and this way. Now when I will click enter and press, when I have 5 elements inside it will say tags limit reached. When I will click inside any button, it will just remove it, and oh sorry, I have to write dot inner HTML right here, dot inner HTML. So when I will press enter, our tags have reached its maximum limit. When I will click cross, it will remove it and change the tag to enter tags. Now disabled right here in another problem, another typo, disabled input.disabled is equal to false. Now we have 5 elements right here. We want to remove this one. I will click, it will change this placeholder to enter tags, and I will click on it and it will again shift above, and I will be able to add another tag inside this tags div, enter, and this way I can remove all of them by pressing enter, by pressing these close buttons, sorry. Now all of these are removed, enter, remove. We are not removing these spaces from here. In here, inside, when we add the value right here, we don't want to add this value right here. We want value is equal to value dot replace. We want to replace, what do we want to replace? We are going to use this notations /s/g, which means that this /s means the space, and this /g means all of the all of the space occurrences. We want to replace it with nothing. There is nothing inside these quotation marks. So we want to move it and replace it with nothing, which means just remove it. So when I will write anything and press and space between it, it will just remove the spaces between it. So right now when I will write any sort of exclamation mark or any special character, it will just add it inside it as well. So I want not to add them. So I will copy this statement and change this. Now right here, how is it changing this one? You must be thinking it. Now I am changing this value, and this function returns us an other string which will not be having space, and I will add this one inside this value. This value contains the string that doesn't have space right now, and this value just gets shifted right here using this string literal. Now in this statement, I don't want to replace the space. I want to replace every element which is not z, small case, a to z, capital A to z, or any digit. Now this character right here, this power character alters this whole statement. This statement, these 3 kind of statements, it's a 0 to 9 uppercase letters and lowercase letters, and this element will alter it, which means any element other than these 3 groups. So when I will write something right here, and if I will put exclamation mark, it will just remove it. Let's put plenty of exclamation marks right here for special characters. It won't add it. You can improve it your way if you want it. So this is all for this video. Let's just, I will refresh it. It won't give any space. It won't add any special character inside it. Yeah, right here. We're good with this video. Right now we would do like, subscribe. Thank you.